Hi everyone, welcome to the Healing Lounge, a channel dedicated to exploring holistic health and wellness. We'll be in conversation with practitioners, organizations, nonprofits, anyone who explores holistic health, empowering mind, body, and spirit, sharing that love and sharing that knowledge and wisdom to all of their clients. We are here to guide, ignite, and unite for a better tomorrow. Thank you again for joining us, and let's tune in to see what we have in store for you. Enjoy. Hello, Andrea. Thank you so much for making time on your busy schedule. Welcome to the Healing Lounge. How are you doing today?
I'm grateful to be here, Sergio. Thank you for inviting me.
Yes, definitely. We have a lot to share and talk to you, the audience, about today. What I wanted to do is talk more about the foundation that you have going on, which is Neon City Foundation. But first, I wanted you to kind of speak more about yourself and what it is that you do and how did your journey start?
Sure. Well, Neon City Uni Foundation was created February 2nd of 2024, and it was created after a business mixer I hosted last December, where we discussed different issues we were having in the community with healthcare and education and the quality of life of individuals. And we wanted to take a non-traditional approach and have multiple target audiences for our projects. Our goal is to have holistic educational health and wellness for veterans, seniors, and children. Why I wanted to have all those groups is because, in our opinion, with the co-founders, all those groups needed assistance. And our goal with Neon City was to be able to be multi-use, multi-purpose, and to help some critical gaps that exist in our community. And so I did not expect this year to be the president of a local nonprofit, but I couldn't be more grateful for this surprise opportunity that presented itself after that catalyst mixer. I originally thought my journey was going to be just focusing on healthcare consulting for business purposes. But then when Neon City was created, it's absolutely what brought me back to my community service and wanting to unify the community as well and restore a sense of community and humanity for Las Vegas.
That is incredible. Wow. And congratulations on being president of the foundation. That is very incredible. What is it that you were doing before this that kind of led you to have this conversation or just the idea of putting together this foundation?
So before this, my first business was owning a home health contract therapy staffing business for physical therapy, occupational therapy, speech therapy. My original background was doctor of physical therapy, so I basically spent the majority of my career in Las Vegas. I've been a therapist going on 18 years, and 14 going on 15 of those years have been in the Las Vegas community. And when you go into people's homes, you see the true reality. And it was in seniors' homes in Las Vegas that I really saw all the issues that they were having, such as financial difficulties, lack of resources, the scam artists. And it really took me beyond the physical therapy bubble. I really needed to do something to improve the situation for our seniors locally. So I had this strong internal sense that I needed to advocate for this population. And my father is a Vietnam veteran, and he will speak to his issues as well as many other veterans. It's not just a Vietnam issue, but many of our veterans struggle with PTSD. So that is why also at the foundation, we wanted to work on programs for veterans as well, because we wanted to provide a type of holistic community reintegration that addressed the issues with PTSD with non-pharmaceutical approaches, mindfulness, meditation. And because at that mixer and the Nevada Healthcare Forum last year, they said, we can't fix healthcare without fixing education. So I said, well, we're going to add in programs for children too. And if I can teach as many children the skills that I have as a business owner and entrepreneur and everything health, wellness, holistic earlier, the better. So our goal is to provide intergenerational learning between seniors and children, and also provide business building workshops that really develop, it's not just traditional education, but the skills we need to have a happy, successful life. So that's why our mission also works on quality of life. I feel like programs undervalue people's happiness and quality of life. So we want to touch on all of those populations, because to build a successful community, we're all going to reap the benefits of these holistic programs. And if we can give children business building skills before peak development closes, because the reason the drinking age is the early 20s is because of peak development. So if we could give them the skills that I have approaching 40 years old in high school, that's going to be better for them, because they could come out of high school. If they don't go on to higher education, they could come out knowing how to run a nonprofit and a for-profit business is our goal. And we want to teach, they can also help seniors as well, because the seniors are a huge part of the entrepreneurship market. And if we can pair up seniors and children's, that would be the ultimate community unity for our program development.
That sounds incredible. Wow, this is going to be something that's very much necessary for the community and also for the future generations to come. I mean, they are in need of education like this, especially when it comes to business and not only owning your own business, but also if they want to get into the nonprofit sector. That'll be something that's very amazing. Growing up, I didn't really have a lot of programs out there available through my schooling system that had to do with nonprofit or even business building. So this is incredible that you want to bring this about, and also bringing about more holistic alternatives and holistic treatments. Let's dive deeper a little bit about those. Like what is kind of holistic health are we looking at? Like what does holistic health mean to Neon City?
Well, we're definitely going to be redefining what health and wellness is. With my healthcare consulting business, I purposely didn't spell healthcare as one word, because I wanted to reinstill the health and the care for ultimate wellness. And so when we're looking at holistic, we're looking at the individual as a whole person. So mental, cognitive, emotional, spiritual, and all doing everything non-traditional is important to me because of the experiences I've had working with patients. I've seen the damaging effects of just staying in the traditional realm with pharmaceuticals. I'm not saying that a person doesn't need a pharmaceutical at one time of their life for a specific need, but I feel like there is heavy abuse in our medical system. And I believe our medical system was set up to directly feed the pharmaceutical industry out of greed and not out of health. And now patients are feeling that because of all the side effects. The average pharmaceutical has over 100 side effects, and then they're prescribed pills because of side effects. And I've seen the effects of what can happen over time. And I want to be a voice for the holistic world and the alternative world, because there is research. I'm a big proponent of evidence-based practice and leveling the playing ground and giving every option a fair chance, and that we should be educating individuals on their options for health and wellness. That my choices may not be the same as your choices, but we should both have the education so that we can make our own informed choices on solid education and evidence. And if we don't give the holistic world a chance, we'll never be able to build up high quality research. But I'm very excited that there is some research that does support alternatives like music therapy, sound healing, meditation, all of these avenues that people are unaware about. Even until this past year, I did not even fully understand the benefits of meditation and sound healing. And I feel like it has helped me tremendously. It's helped patients tremendously. And we should have the opportunity to learn and experience these benefits. And it's not about saying, this is how you have to do something, more or less, here's your choices, and always explaining why. I'm a big person. You'll never hear me recommend something without explaining why. If there's a recommendation for health and wellness, I'm a proponent that if you're being educated by anyone, if they can't tell you why they're saying to do this thing, that's when you have to be your own advocate and do your own research. So that is how we're going to define health and wellness for Neon City, is educating on traditional but also holistic alternatives, and then building programs that are evidence-based, like Harvard MedTech. We just got a partnership with them for their virtual reality headsets, and they are mindfulness, meditation, sound healing, distraction activities, fun activities, but it instills the importance of non-pharmaceutical approaches. And these devices have been studied by the best of the best in the medical field, and they have research, and they're getting tremendous results. They are getting veterans off of pharmaceutical pills, and they're getting people that can't, because what some people may not realize is that some people can't return to work if they're on pharmaceutical pills. And if you're in the active military, if you're dealing with certain issues, you can't even maybe carry your weapon. So there is a huge need to have non-pharmaceutical interventions, and we want to give individuals in the community the opportunity to experience these benefits with our program development.
That sounds incredible. I have a question, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people might have this question. Why isn't this already implemented in the medical system already? Like, what's going on?
Oh, whoo. So why this has not already been implemented is because of stigma. I believe that big pharma spends the most, and this is not just my belief, this is actually fact. Big pharma in this country spends the most out of any industry with lobbying in this country. And when you are the number one lobbyist in this country, that means you get to make basically all the rules, the laws, the regulations, because you are paying all these lobbyists to influence politicians. And where that comes into play is the Controlled Substance Act. Because as we're fighting in the cannabis world between how do we define CBD, how do we define THC, they have had THC as a controlled substance, and that has created the stigma. And the people are not aware the Controlled Substance Act was the longest act in American history that has not been modified. And we're getting progress where they want to not deschedule it. I want it descheduled, and it should be descheduled, but it's going to be rescheduled from 1 to 3, which means it's going to be a lower severity, but still it's going to be a controlled substance. But the reason we still have this stigma is because it's still on the Controlled Substance Act. And the reason it's on there is because if cannabis gets removed from that act, it'll be eligible for prescription status. And that's when people's light bulbs go on and they go, I didn't realize that. And then people go, yes, because in America, even though it's supposed to be illegal to have monopolies, they still exist. And Big Pharma has spent their reign not only controlling and making sure their pharmaceuticals were the go-to, but they've also unfortunately done a lot of damage to holistic practitioners and doctors, nurses, any medical professional that has spoke up about it. they have run a smear campaign against their reputation. Rick Simpson, who was a founder of Rick Simpson Oil, he had to flee this country because he put the recipe for an oil that can improve cancer online. And now that is why, and if Rick Simpson never did that, we may not have Rick Simpson oil, RSO oil, in all of these dispensaries. He had problems in his career because Big Pharma went after him, not because the oil didn't work, but because it did work and they didn't want the competition. And so what people don't realize as well is the pharmaceutical industry also owns the media. So when it's like, oh, why haven't we heard about it? Well, if whoever owns the media also owns Big Pharma, you're not going to hear favorable discussions about cannabis or even holistic alternatives, because the holistic world, it's not just about cannabis. It's about mindfulness. They don't want us to realize that we have a power in our brain called neuroplasticity that can change when we're just mentally challenged with activity, and that can improve brain damage. They want to just prescribe a pill. So it goes well beyond cannabis to sound healing, music therapy, energy, frequency, vibration. All of these things have been labeled crazy. And what I encourage people to realize is when something is called crazy, it's probably actually the truth, because crazy just means you're going against the status quo. And that's probably where the truth lies, because a lot of these decisions in health wellness space have been made because of greed, not because they're the best option. It's because it makes the most money. They're making more money if we stay unhealthy.
There is definitely a lot to unpack there, but I 100% agree with you. And it really says a lot about an industry like the pharmaceutical industry, where they will go above and beyond to stop you from sharing information and sharing modalities, holistic and otherwise, to prevent people from getting addicted or even being in severe pain, or creating a balanced system within yourself to heal any kind of disease. That says a lot about that industry right there and then, especially that they spend over 70% of their pharmaceuticals, over 70% of pharmaceuticals are introduced to our food system, which is shocking on its own. However, we gotta say, like, when is enough enough? And why is this industry, why do they not have our best interest in heart? Why are they holding back from all of this information, all of this? That's why. The money. Yeah, to each their own, and everyone has their own choice. However, I am not one to partake in any of that. When I remember growing up, I remember all of these commercials on TV, say no to drugs, just say no, all of these things. And, we go to drugstores to go pick up our prescriptions. So what are we saying? You know what I mean? Like, that's a drug. Those are drugs.
I think we're one of the only countries as well that's actually allowed to advertise pharmaceuticals on the television.
That is correct.
That says it all as well. And I think that most of us can probably repeat in our minds because of the amount of times they've been replayed with common drug commercials, and then they're making it seem. And what I can't stand about them is how they put everyone's so happy, they're having the time of their life, they're out there hiking, they're out there running, they're out there riding their bikes. And you're going to feel this way if you take those pharmaceuticals. It's visual mind to us, and it's not, and people are so used to now watching the television. And I'll say I'm guilty, but at least at this point, what I encourage people to do, if you like to watch television and you're looking for a way of maybe watching something a little bit better, watch some documentaries that get you to think differently and open up your mind. Because at least now we're getting more exposure with the documentaries that are, discovering the case studies and telling people's stories. I think that's important for people to realize that It's not a coincidence that we've been just put in front of the screen and what we're shown on screen. And if the same people own the food supply, so basically they own the TV and they own every item that's being advertised as well, especially when you see it from the grocery store. And even though they're owned under different companies, they're still owned by the same three major mega corporations. So that is really the information that people need to understand, is that everything on that TV is on the TV for a reason, because it's slowly normalizing you. Oh, these drugs are normal, these foods are normal, and you think that this is what you're supposed to be doing, but it's all for profit. And that's why the holistic world needs to have a voice, because there are products, services that can make people feel better, that have the right to be advertised, but people probably don't even realize how difficult it is to advertise for even just CBD or THC products. Sergio and I probably violate community guidelines every single day.
All the time.
And if we weren't so persistent with trying to get our voice out, and that's why and that was another reason for Neon City, with why I wanted to create a nonprofit, because I can't tell you the amount of times networking that I was told, we can't do anything with you if you have anything to do with cannabis.
Mm-hmm.
Well, why? Oh, because our main funder is pharmaceuticals.
Yep.
And I can't stand that there are major nonprofits in this country that fundraise for all these individual diagnoses, and that money goes right back to the pharmaceutical companies, and they do not have the cure for these diseases. They are creating these diseases.
Yep.
And what they don't want you to realize, and for me, it's like, okay, well, at least have an even playing ground where, like, if you're going to donate some money to pharmaceutical research, realize that there's alternatives that you should also be donating to. That pharmaceuticals is not the only option, and that's the important part of my career, my advocacy, is making sure that people are aware that there are other options, showing them the research behind that, and explaining the why.
I love that. And you're right on so many levels. And especially when it comes to the censorship that the holistic community faces. I try to put, ads out there. I try to promote on social media. However, I get flagged, banned, shut down, all these things. So that information is not getting to the people that need it, not because I don't want to share it, it's because I can't share it. It's very interesting to see that happen. And it also goes to show you, like, who really is behind the scenes in these companies, in these social media platforms. Like, who are they funded by, if we can't even have an honest conversation about what helped you through anxiety and stress and depression? What helped you during chronic pain or illness? If we can't have that honest conversation on social platforms, then it really tells you who is really behind, who is the money behind these social media platforms. So I find it very interesting.
I think that that's what has happened. Everyone probably is aware about TikTok. As we get closer to the TikTok ban, what people don't realize is that if they don't own the social media, they have ways of controlling it. And there's certain social media that have complied, but I have noticed a trend quite recently that has been dramatically increased as the ban is getting closer, that someone has their hands on TikTok now and they are complying. There are community violations for things now that there weren't in the past. And basically we don't want you to have a voice about these options because you're not on our payroll. And that's a dangerous aspect of education. And that's why I want to combine high quality education and advocacy, because we shouldn't be exposed to things just because certain person can afford to pay millions, if we're not at billions, in lobbyists to keep these regulations. But I thought we had freedom of speech, but it's been very evident, especially over this last year, freedom of speech truly doesn't exist. And we have to support each other in the holistic space. And that's why I think that these types of podcasts are very important, to hear each other's stories and difficulties, because I can't tell you the amount of times in the past with patients that they will not listen to things if they haven't heard them before. And that's the danger. They would be like, well, how come my doctor doesn't say this? Or how come you're the only one educating? And because they're not hearing it, they're like, oh, this isn't normal. This isn't right. So if all they're hearing is a controlled dialogue, because it's paid, let's be honest, it's paid ads. It's because it's paid to run that narrative, because we don't want competition. And that's the sad part. And that's really what Neon City, my bigger vision is, to instill unity, that I can't stand all the competition that exists. You see it in the tech space, where you see these tech companies destroy each other. And I look at these entrepreneurs and these innovators that are geniuses that need to work together, not destroy each other because of competition. But could you imagine if we unified and worked together, what we could create for humanity? And so that's really why I was insistent on putting unity in the name of the foundation, because we want to be different than the competition. I don't want competition. We're not in competition with anyone. We just want to provide what should exist, and want to provide a safe space for the holistic world, and want to provide programs that our community needs.
I love that. And it's really right on. You hit the nail on the head on that one too. There's a lot of people out there that are, still in that competitive mindset of, well, I was here first, so this and that. It's like, no, we're all in this together. We're all here doing the thing. We're all here living, and the thing about it too is that really sets us apart. Once we unify, once we come together as a true collective, we could do so much. We could do so much for humanity, for this planet, for our next generation, to have those skills and that mindset of like unity. And a lot of it had to do with, I feel, in my perspective, the programming that we were instilled going into it, even in our school, where we had to do better or compete against whatever it was that they were trying to make us compete against. And, a lot of that has to change. I feel that we can benefit more from creating and being what we want to see in the world, right? Like, yes, we want to have all of these things and be different and go against the pharmaceutical whatever narrative and all of these things. Well, yeah, let's get over ourselves and let's come together and let's join hands and let's get to work. Like, let's go out there and do the thing that will create the optimal timeline for sure. And yes, there's so much information out there, so many documentaries. Going back on that documentary aspect, did you have some documentaries that you want to share with everyone?
The ones that probably, I think it was Ancient Civilization or Ancient Aliens on Netflix. There was one of them. Do you know which one I'm talking about? Joe Rogan had a part in it, and it was, and the reason why I love that one, the name of the gentleman in there, I'm escaping his name, but bless his soul, he had a smear campaign against his career for 30 years and never gave up. He challenged the timeline and was able to prove that our civilization existed like 20,000 years before, a little less than that, but thousands of years before it said that it started. And he would not give up because he had the evidence, and he traveled all around the world to show evidence of ancient civilizations that exist. And the one place he actually read an email from an historic landmark on the East Coast, and they said, "We are not letting you in here to film because you are challenging our narrative of our creation story." And my thought process, why I really love that documentary, was there's always another story. And to really truly grow mentally, I like to look at things from multiple perspectives. There's some things today that I don't have a firm stance on. I enjoy looking at it. Well, this could be true. Well, this could be true. Well, this could be true. And that documentary really pointed out that we can't be closed-minded and just, it's not that we're trying to destroy the past. We just want people to be more open-minded to the possibility that there's multiple options, there's multiple, explanations. And to that gentleman who did it, and I believe because he was featured on Joe Rogan, and I'm glad that documentary was created because they went through and you see it. What I love about these documentaries, when they go through the media and they take all the clips of all the bad media that was out about them, and these individuals just pushing through there. And that's really another message that I want people to understand, is that we get so enthralled with drama, and we get, oh, the gossip, what the celebrities are doing, and oh, they're saying this. Those things are very purposeful. And it's also so easy now to point out when they're doing it. That's what they're doing to all these holistic people, is that when you challenge the narrative or you challenge their bottom line, they do a political smear campaign against you as your career. So they make you look crazy. And if that doesn't work, they arrest you. If that doesn't work and you get out, they bankrupt you. And I'm sure this gentleman had some support, possibly from Joe Rogan, to be able to put this documentary out. And I know Joe Rogan has had that same smear campaign. And I give him props because he has been a proponent of alternative thinking. Because I've heard that the CIA is the original one that started the term conspiracy theorists, and they termed it that way because that was made for critical thinkers. If you are not programmed and you are not thinking the narrative and not complying with the narrative, you are coined conspiracy theorists, and that meant you are a critical thinker. And I would love to change the word conspiracy theorist to poly-alternative. And that's what I call it, that I'm a poly-alternative thinker. That I don't have a strong proponent about things. It's that I like to say, okay, there's other possibilities and we have the right to explore them. So if there's documentaries that get you to challenge your thought process, that's what I would challenge people listening, is if you're very closed-minded about a topic, I challenge you to watch a documentary that has the opposite perspective. Watch the documentary with an open mind and just realize that there could be other things that are true.
Yes, I love that. It's all about the expansion of the mind, all about the expansion of the mind. Because I feel when we are stuck in that program, that there's a lot of industries out there that are pushing for this program to be instilled in everyone. And, pharmaceutical is just one industry, but there's so many more out there that are just trying to spread more and more of this, falseness and false light. That it's really a really good idea to just see it from the other side, see it from the broader aspect, and just come out of it. You see yourself outside of of this realm and see the bigger picture for what it is and what is really true to you and what really feels and resonates with you. And I love that you brought up Ancient Aliens. I haven't experienced watching Ancient Aliens myself, but yes, it's one of my favorites to watch. Yeah, there's a lot of documentaries and information out there available for everyone. It's, again, up to everyone and the individual to seek out that information. And if they're looking for solution, there's not just one way of getting it. It's not about just showing up to an office and waiting there for hours to be seen with someone who really doesn't know your body, who really doesn't know your emotional state, who really doesn't know your childhood, or doesn't really know you as a person. That you are the one that knows yourself. You are the one that knows what exactly is going on, and you know what's right for yourself. And it's very
It's time to stop giving up our power.
In that sense, right? And just take that power back and do your own homework and research and look into all of the great things that are available. Everything that you're doing with Neon City is definitely what's needed
In this world at this very moment. And thank you so much for doing so.
Where do you see Neon City going? I know right now it's in its beginning stages. Where do you see Neon City a few years from now?
So Neon City, just a little bit of a story behind our logo. So our logo is a torch because a torch is symbolism for intergenerational learning. We want to be where our home city is Las Vegas, Nevada. Las Vegas is known as a city of lights, and we feel that we are the light in the darkness as well. And so it made sense to coin it Neon City Unity. But why we purposely didn't attach Las Vegas to the title is because our vision is that every city is going to have a Neon City Unity. And we're not trying to replace the current system. We're trying to supplement the current system. We're not trying to be the new norm for healthcare and education, because unless we get some billionaires that would like to donate to create those larger systems. But the reality is we want to create these projects and these workshops that these individuals can access to supplement what they currently have. And our goal for Las Vegas in particular, as the founding city, is that we will have our first Neon City Community Center in 3 years. And the Neon City Community Center is going to be multi-purpose, which is going to be no big surprise to anyone. You'll never hear me commit to just one thing. I don't have that possibility of doing that. So the community center will be multi-purpose. It will also have an event space. It's also going to have a podcast studio. It's also going to have classrooms where we can teach these different courses. And it's also going to have office spaces where we can invite other members of the community that can potentially rent out office space, that could collaborate, can also rent out our event space when we're not hosting activities. It's important for us to have our own event space so we can give back to the community and be able to do workshops for free and have free events, but also provide an opportunity to unify the community with whether it's networking events or special events, but things that we can host for the community all in one place. And that we also, of course, want to have a type of alternative, holistic, recreational room. I could tell you right now, it's not going to look anything like a physical therapy gym. It's not going to look like a typical gym. We're going to have LED walls, and we're going to have a safe space for guided meditation, yoga therapy, sound healing, and give people the opportunity to experience those settings. So I would love that if Las Vegas, when we build that first community center, and that the programs that we're building, that we're creating a model for Neon City. And then once we have that successful model that's sustainable, that it can go to the next city, almost like a franchise. But I just don't want to use that term. But I do believe that every city in the United States, if not globally, will benefit from a Neon City.
That is a beautiful, beautiful manifestation that you are creating, and that many others that are part of the Neon City tribe are going to be creating as well. That's amazing. I'm excited to check out all of it. I'm excited for the creation of this, right? Where can anybody watching this right now, where can they find more information about what you do and Neon City, and where can they find your work?
So for right now, we're all volunteers. So we have a website. It's neoncityunity.org. We are on social media, Facebook, Neon City Unity Foundation. Look for our black and blue torch. Our IG handle is Neon City Unity. And we also have a LinkedIn page that we had just started. And for now, we're going to be doing, since we don't have a set community center, we're going to be doing mobile pop-up community events. So we have one coming up in Henderson in October. And we're going to then have a second one in Henderson for veterans, for a kickoff to Veterans Day weekend with the virtual reality headsets. So our website does have an events page, so stay tuned on there. And we are also writing blog articles so people can stay updated with what we have going on. It has our creation story, our leadership story. We are all volunteers. We have no employees yet. We would like to grow where we can have full-time employees, especially, which will be needed for the community center, because we're also going to be hosting a multi-use volunteer database, and we're going to make sure we're protecting the vulnerable populations is essential to me. So we're going to be doing criminal background checks to make sure, we're protecting the vulnerable with the volunteers, but that we can have a multi-use, of course, it's going to be multi-use volunteers that do different things that we're not seeing currently. So an example is I would commonly have patients from the home health that all of a sudden they have to go to the hospital. Well, I have 2 dogs right now in my house. So if I went to the hospital and didn't have a plan, the EMT are coming. The EMT and the police, if the police need to be involved, they are not going to worry about what's going to happen to my dogs. So Neon City, we want to work with our members of our community to build an emergency plan. So if they have to go to the hospital, they have to go to rehab, that we have volunteers that could do pet sitting, and then work with local nonprofits, animal nonprofits, that if we have to rehome animals because patients have to move or seniors have to move to another environment that they can't have them, that we're taking the trauma out of that experience, and that we've already pre-screened volunteers based in areas of the city that are willing to pet sit. Or also, what people may not realize, if a person that has dementia in the community needs to go to the hospital, they need an advocate for them in the hospital setting. So that way the multi-use volunteers can also be dispatched quickly and efficiently to the local hospitals to be just bedside assistants and be eyes and ears in the hospital, because a person with dementia can't advocate for themselves with their care. So that way we have a plan, and that the volunteer can go out to be emergency bedside assistants. We have a plan in place as well for their pets. It's just one example of how we want to do volunteer work differently and bring together the community. My background is a recreational therapist before I became a physical therapist. So we also want to build and know seniors in our community, the ones that have like interests. There's so many seniors that are isolated. So for an example, 3 seniors that we know like to bowl, and there's a driver in the group. It would make sense to have those 3 seniors unified, know each other, and interact with each other. So we also want to just communicate and coordinate for our community and say, okay, these are seniors in your area that like these activities. You should potentially meet each other and explore the recreation and leisure. So that's going to be the quality of life component, that we're going beyond just health and wellness.
That's incredible. Definitely a game changer right there, just with that alone, right? But there's going to be so much more that Neon City is going to be creating for everyone in need. This is amazing. And what advice would you give someone that wants to get into holistic health, holistic healing, and they're just getting introduced to this? What advice would you give them?
I would say just come on out to one of our events. Sergio, you're one of our supporters, and you're going to be active as well in our events, and we are connectors within our community. And I would say just come out, reach out to us, whether it's social media or it's email, and just say, I've had individuals send me emails with just little bits of information saying I'm dealing with this, and I'm more than happy to direct. I consider myself a connector. So I'd say just be curious, ask questions, send an email, and let's get connected at an event, so that way you could benefit from a pop-up activation event. Because I know, Sergio, you're going to be hosting coming up in December, and then in the spring of next year, some holistic events as well. So there's going to be lots of opportunities to network and learn from community partners.
Absolutely. I'm really excited to, support you in all that you do. This is definitely a big win for the holistic community here locally in Las Vegas and soon in every other city. What? So
Yeah.
that's going to be amazing. Fairly excited to see the growth and see how this just unfolds. And I invite everyone to please feel free to check out, the Neon City website. I'll put all of the links below to the social medias. And yes, thank you, Andrea, for making the time to be here with us today. Thank you so much for sharing your vision. Really excited for the world that you're going to be helping in the now moment and every now moment. So thank you so much for being here. And yes, did you want to leave us with a last piece of advice or anything that you want to add before we close this off?
Yes, I would like the opportunity. First of all, thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak about Neon City today. And I would just like to mention that, as we're building the multi-use volunteer network, feel free to reach out if you're a community member and you're curious, you're a holistic provider that's curious. But we're also looking for sponsors as well for the foundation so we can kick off more of our programs and that we can create bigger movement within the community and that we can give these programs to the underserved for free. So we are going to be dependent on, donations and sponsors to launch these programs. So if what I was saying resonates with you and you're a business or a corporation that has the ability to reach out and would like to partner on program development, we are to really build Neon City to where it needs to be. We need to have the right community support and the right sponsors. Nonprofits are very much dependent on personal donations and sponsors, but I can promise you that money, we are committed to staying administrative fees low. Right now, as I mentioned, there's zero. We're all volunteering. We want the majority of money, and this is how I feel that nonprofits should be running. The majority of sponsorships and donations should not be covering administration. It should definitely not be going into president's retirement bank accounts. The majority of money needs to be spent on program development. That is the whole purpose of nonprofit organizations. The reason there are tax exemptions is so that way, because of what you're serving. So our foundation is committed to ethical behavior and transparency of the funds. And we're not at our first year yet, but look out, once in February, we're going to have an impact in an annual report. And check out our website and read our blog, and you can see already what we've been doing in the community without having any administrative fees. So that's just important for me to share. And my last bit of advice, I would say, is that, to challenge yourself. If there's something that you've wanted to do differently, to do it differently, and to really take a moment to slow down. I did this with my business transition when I was in traditional healthcare. I didn't realize at that time I was on autopilot, but I absolutely was on autopilot for over 10 years. And when I took the time to slow down, I really realized what was meaningful. And I really realized things that I wanted to do and things I needed to work on for myself personally. So my advice would be for everyone to take that time. Do not get caught up in the super busy lifestyle, and definitely meditate. That's probably the most advice I've been given lately, is the power of the mind and meditation to try something new.
It's beautiful, beautifully said. Thank you. Thank you. And with that, we will be ending it now. But again, feel free to check out all of the information. I put all the links below. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Thank you, Andrea. Look forward to our interview.
Thank you very much.